Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the deep end of the human mind. We're going to demystify exactly how our unconscious protects us, and maybe even more interestingly, we'll explore the real scientific struggle to actually measure these invisible shields. Let's get right into it.
So why do we hide the truth from ourselves? I mean, we're constantly facing external stressors and intense internal conflicts, right? Yet somehow our minds have this highly unique, almost magical way of filtering reality just so we can survive it. Now, according to classic Freudian theory, defense mechanisms act as these totally unconscious psychological strategies. Think of them as a way to temporarily distort reality. They literally pace out our emotional pain, stepping in to protect us from the absolute crushing anxiety of thoughts that are just too unacceptable to deal with all at once. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll be hitting the mind's invisible shields, exploring classic ego defenses, repression versus denial, measuring the unconscious mind, and finally, the flaws in the DSQ.
All right, Section 1, the mind's invisible shields, protecting the ego. So check out the delicate balance here. In a totally healthy scenario, these mechanisms provide much-needed temporary relief. They give the ego a breather, allowing it to process difficult info safely and at a manageable pace. But on the flip side, overuse is a real problem. Relying on them with high frequency or intensity actually causes profound psychological damage. We're talking the development of neuroses, chronic anxiety states, and even severe phobias. Moving on to Section 2, exploring classic ego defenses, from Freud to modern psychoanalysis. Way back in 1936, Anna Freud systematized these distinct types of ego defenses. You've got denial, repression, projection, displacement, sublimation, rationalization, and reaction formation. It's a lot, I know, but today we're just going to focus on a few of the most prominent ones that you'll probably actually recognize operating in your own daily life.
First up, let's look at projection. This is basically externalizing undesirable aspects of yourself. Like, let's say your superego, your internal moral compass, dictates that your intense hatred for someone is completely unacceptable. Well, you might resolve that intense anxiety by just projecting it onto them. You literally convince yourself that they actually hate you. So the hostile desires are still there, but hey, they aren't yours anymore. Next up is displacement. This is the redirection of an impulse, usually aggression, onto a totally powerless, symbolic substitute target. It happens when your primal urges want to do something your superego simply won't permit. Think of someone taking out their horribly stressful day at work on a perfectly innocent teddy bear once they get home. Okay, on to Section 3, repression versus denial, understanding the difference.
Now, people mix these up all the time, but the absolute crucial difference here is the origin of the threat. Denial is all about dodging an external reality. It's like flat out ignoring a doctor's diagnosis and blocking those external events from awareness. Repression, on the other hand, walls off an inner state. It's actively blocking internal thoughts, impulses, or traumatic memories completely out of your conscious awareness. But, here's the catch. Repressed material is never truly gone. Because it remains deeply psychically active, it often manages to bypass our internal sensors in these weird symbolic forms. It bubbles up to the surface as complex dreams where hidden desires turn into visual symbols. Or it pops out as those accidental Freudian slips of the tongue. Or even as unexplained phobias where a fear actually represents a displaced trauma.
Which brings us to Section 4, measuring the unconscious mind. The Defense Style Questionnaire, or DSQ. So, the fundamental question we face right now is this. If these mechanisms are completely 100% unconscious, how on earth can modern science possibly measure them? To tackle this, researchers rely heavily on psychometric evaluations. And the most notable, widely used tool for this is the Defense Style Questionnaire. To really put this to the test, researchers conducted a super rigorous, systematic literature review. They analyzed a massive, diverse sample of thousands of participants spanning across the globe. Why? To see if the various versions of the DSQ actually hold up as valid scientific instruments. And that leads us right into Section 5, flaws in the DSQ, the verdict on psychometric testing.
Well, the findings reveal a pretty glaring problem. Across almost all the studies, whether it was the DSQ 40, 60, or 88, the questionnaire consistently failed to meet the established psychometric criteria. The verdict on internal consistency, really insufficient. The original factors simply could not be reliably replicated in testing.
So why does it fail so consistently? Basically, the test struggles immensely because the scales and levels are highly interrelated, not independent. The defense styles just overlap way too much. The individual items have insufficient discriminatory power, meaning the current design absolutely does not allow for precise, isolated measurements of individual psychological defenses. Interestingly enough, though, the only area where the test sometimes actually showed sufficient reliability was in measuring maladaptive defenses, as opposed to adaptive or image-distorting ones. Researchers theorize this is likely because, historically, clinical practice has focused so heavily on dysfunctional behaviors. That gives us a much clearer picture of unhealthy defenses rather than the healthy, adaptive ones. Ultimately, the data hands down a bit of an ironic verdict. The researchers explicitly noted that the majority of studies show that DSQ just does not reflect the established psychometric properties of a quality instrument, indicating a real lack of content validity. Basically, our best scientific attempts to measure these theories fall short, pointing to an urgent need for a massive, comprehensive review of our existing theories on defense mechanisms.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to take a second, look closely at your own life, and ask yourself, what invisible shields are you putting up today? Are your psychological defenses safely helping you cope, or are they just hiding the truth from you? It's definitely something to think about. And if you enjoyed this journey into the mind, please subscribe to PscyhAi-knowledge for more informative videos like these.